My child, come closer. Listen to my voice. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man named David who loved his wife Sarah with a fierce tenderness that made angels weep. Every morning he would kiss her forehead and whisper, 5 more years, my love, and we will have our little house with the blue shutters. They had been saving every penny for 3 years, counting coins together by candlelight, sharing dreams of children's laughter in rooms they would call their own. Sarah would trace his hand with her finger and smile, trusting in his promise like she trusted in tomorrow's sunrise. But David carried a secret hunger, a gnawing ambition that whispered lies in quiet hours when Sarah slept peacefully beside him. He watched other men his age driving expensive cars, wearing fine clothes, and a voice inside hissed, "You could have it all now, not in 5 years. Why should you wait?" When his friend Marcus offered him a restaurant investment, promising to double their money in 6 months, David's heart raced with possibility. He told himself, I will surprise her with the house even sooner. One afternoon, while Sarah taught kindergarten children, he went to the bank and withdrew everything, all of it. Their entire future, $28,000 of careful sacrifice, converted into a business investment that existed only on paper and empty promises. He signed the documents with trembling hands, already knowing deep in his soul that he was crossing a line he could never uncross. When the restaurant failed within 3 months, David stared at bankruptcy papers with hollow eyes. Not only had he lost their savings, but he had borrowed $15,000 more against their apartment, believing desperately he could win it all back. The debt collectors came knocking like harbingers of judgment, and there was nowhere left to hide. Sarah discovered the truth when she found the eviction notice tucked behind their wedding photo. She held the paper in shaking hands, reading words that meant the death of every dream they had whispered together. David, she said, her voice barely human, tell me this isn't real. When he confessed everything, she didn't scream or throw things. Instead, she sat down slowly, pulled off her wedding ring, stared at it, then slipped it back on her finger. I am not angry about the money, she whispered, tears falling like rain on drought, scorched earth. I am broken because you didn't trust me enough to share your dreams, your fears, your foolish hope. You made this choice alone, so you can face the consequences alone. She packed one small bag, kissed his cheek with lips cold as winter, and walked to her mother's house 6 blocks away. David spent the next 2 weeks drowning in silence so complete it felt like death itself. He sold everything they owned, slept on the floor of their empty apartment, and stared at the blue paint chip Sarah had taped to their bathroom mirror, the exact color she wanted for their future kitchen. He realized that in trying to give her everything faster, he had given her nothing but betrayal. The hunger for wealth had devoured the only treasure that had ever mattered. His pride, his impatience, his need to prove himself had cost him the woman who had loved him when he was nobody, who had seen greatness in him when he couldn't see it in himself. Then one evening, as rain drummed against the windows, he sat down with a piece of paper and began to write words that carved themselves from his bleeding heart. My dearest Sarah, he wrote, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. I was afraid that I wasn't enough for you, afraid that our slow, careful love wasn't impressive enough. But I understand now that our love was never slow, it was steady. You never needed me to be more than I was. You just needed me to be honest. He folded the letter with trembling fingers, walked through the rain to her mother's house, and slipped it under the door. But what David didn't know was that every night since she had left, Sarah lay in her childhood bed with her wedding ring, still on her finger, turning it slowly in the darkness as she whispered, I am still here, David. I am still waiting for the man I married to come home to the love that has never left him.